I don't think there's much doubt that you are the sort of flag bearer for the aquatic ape theory in the world. I mean, is that something you must feel very proud of that. I mean,
well, it's very nice because it means that anybody who's heard of it and's got an idea will write to me from all over the earth, I mean, to Israel and Japan and places, saying, have you thought of this? And 9 times out of 10, I have thought of it, and I could say, well, yes, I mentioned that in so and so. And sometimes they're wacky ideas and they don't turn out, but it does mean, I'm a sort of clearinghouse. I suppose when I'm gone, Mark will be, because he's the most active in it now.
And I mean, is it something that you have, you actually encourage, or do you like?
I encourage. I answer everyone. I mean, one or two have come, and sometimes the Americans put the address on the envelope and they don't put their address inside. Now I tend to take all the envelopes out and answer the letters after, so one or two I've been unable to answer, and I'm always sorry, but normally I write back to all of them, and I never say, you're talking to the back of your neck, even if it is a bit wild. I say, well, I'd rather doubt this because so and so, but it's an interesting idea.
Very diplomatic. So, what in terms of the aquatic ape theory, then, how do you see it? I mean, it seems to me tantalisingly close to be accepted. Is that your idea, or do you
Yes.
think it is close?
I am certain. I am certain it's close because when I went to Oxford, I was invited to Oxford some years ago now, and they had a packed room. I had made my own little film, of aquatic, just a 19-minute thing, and I showed that and I gave a talk. And the room was so packed, there had been people saying in the beginning, what about the fire regulations? We ought to go somewhere else because they were sort of sitting squashed up on the benches. Richard Dawkins was there, Douglas Adams was there, and we had a dinner after. I was sitting, Douglas Adams there, Richard Dawkins there, and I had a wonderful letter from the professors who'd sent for me, saying that they admired what I'd done, and they were amazed that so little attention had been paid to it, and they were, going to give it serious consideration. And Dawkins didn't say he believed in it, but he didn't say he didn't, and he was saying, well, I think the mistake you're making is you should do this, I don't think he'd have talked to them if he thought it was rubbish. So
he's obviously read the works as well.
Well, I don't know whether, anyway, he'd seen the film and heard my talk, and then after that, I had never had such a good reception. The odd thing is that the more intellectually high up they are, the more they're ready to see it. And if you talk to lay audiences, they think, well, fish and stuff like this. And if there was anything in it, they all scientifically saying so. But then I got exactly the same reaction in Tufts. I mean, there were people sort of coming in, yes, oh yes, this aquatic woman like this. And then I could see them, changing. They would change from this sort of patronising expression to their eyes open and practically their mouths open in some cases. Yes.
People just seem to have it like fixed that it's like dolphins,
Yes,
we evolved from
yes,
dolphins,
yes.
and it's a misconception, isn't it?
And then I had these marvellous letters from Tufts and Harvard about the reactions over the next few days, the people that come up to them and thanked them and said how impressed they were. And also, I mean, after the dinner, I was talking to people like David Haig and Howard Wrangham and so on, who are sort of big names in the game, and none of them are saying it's rubbish. And there was this lovely thing from Tecumseh on the larynx who was sitting next to me on the other side, that he just found this 4-year-old girl and then descended larynx talking like anybody else. And no, these were all side things, little side issues over which I'd said, if I'm right, that can't be right, and more of them coming up. But I am convinced now, because it is the brightest and best informed people who are now more open to it than the undergraduates who still say, well, I mean, I'm not very gullible, and I've been told that all these fringe theories are rubbish and so on. In fact, they're saying, all people who are my mentors don't believe it, so I don't believe it. But the people at the top who are setting the sort of intellectual atmosphere, they've stopped saying it's rubbish.
How do you see it becoming accepted? I mean, what do you think it would take for it to actually become accepted? Or would you see it as a very gradual thing, or do you think it could suddenly change, the whole thing could collapse like a pack of cards, and all of a sudden?
I think that it's not going to take much of a push now. And I think if this Discovery film, I mean, I'd expected some feedback from it, I must say, but I haven't heard from anybody who's seen it. And it's a fortnight ago now. But I've had a couple of letters from people who have failed to see it because it wasn't there. And
what's that? I mean the film?
Yes, the Discovery film, that film you've been watching.
It is tremendous.
Yes. I think I expected that to be one of the things that would push it past the point of no return. But it hasn't done that.
It's not been released.
But I think from now on, the people who are going to write articles about the skin or the fat layer or bipedalism or speech are going to find it harder to write a whole book and not mention it. I mean, it is beginning to come in now that you will see sort of half a page. Well, like Karen Pond's book on fat. I mean, she said, well, of course, some people say this. I mean, you can condense it into half a page or a page, but it's going to look funny if you don't mention it at all. It's going to look as if you've never heard of it. And whereas once upon a time this would have been a sign of how intelligent you are, from now on it's going to look a bit shifty if you don't mention it at all and pretend it hasn't happened. It's getting to that point. And there is the sort of dog that never barked in the night. There's the absence of any book which comes out purporting to be an answer to AAT. I mean, it's obviously a thing you could go to a publisher and say, look, I can write a book about this aquatic aid theory and I can absolutely demolish it. And the publisher will say, great, do it. Here's an advance.